Hi guys, it's Carl here. So another video in the car, which isn't ideal, especially with traffic going past me here. I just grab time when I have it, and I don't have a lot of it at the moment, so apologies for that. Um, a quick video about talking about your estrangement, not so much publicly, but more specifically with people that you know and friends. And a lot of people are afraid to tell their friends about their family situation, about the ongoing conflict and the estrangement. And obviously, as a therapist who specializes in estrangement, I have a lot of conversations with clients, but I also have a lot of chats with people who aren't clients. And there's a range of reasons why I would have a chat with somebody as opposed to actually work with them. Sometimes it's their circumstance, they may not be able to engage in actual therapy for a period of time, and sometimes I'm just booked up and I haven't got the capacity to take on more clients. But nonetheless, I still try to have a chat, the conversation with them. The reason I try and make time for this, and this is not a charged service, this is me putting aside time for people because I know that it would help them. But I know how hard the conversation around family is. It's a very difficult conversation for a whole range of reasons. One of which is that we're talking about really complex and very nuanced family dynamics and family histories, which not everybody is going to get. And for that reason, a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about this stuff to people that they know, because they're fearful that it'll be minimized, fearful that people just won't get it, maybe fearful that people might even blame them for their situation, which is terrible and happens sometimes, but not always. Another reason why people don't tell their friends is because they feel like they're betraying their family by discussing this stuff. And I get that as well, because family is such a sacred construct. And even though it may be an unhealthy family, or maybe a very damaging family and very hurtful family, people still feel like they're being disloyal or betraying their family by talking about it. Now, for me, with people, I have this conversation with people. I try and get them to distinguish between different levels of public conversation or public discourse. And it's not like they're putting this on social media or they're telling randomers. They're specifically telling people that they know, that they trust, will keep it within that tight circle. And that's a really important distinction, because then it might help mitigate some of the that sense of betrayal that they feel about talking about their family. Another aspect of it, and maybe the biggest aspect, is that they feel like they're being a burden to their friends. And again, I get that, and they probably aren't, truth be told, because everyone is dealing with their own shit. We're all dealing with our own lives, our own problems. And often when someone presents with, look, I'm struggling with something, and particularly with family, it's often, they're not glad to hear it, but it is a distraction from their own stuff. It's not a burden, it's actually a healthy distraction for them. They get to focus in on somebody else's problem. And often people feel like they can't actually solve their own problems, but at least they can be a helpful ear and a compassionate ear to a friend. And I've seen this loads of times when people take that risk and actually tell their friends about what's going on. I'd say 9 times out of 10, the friends are amazing. Like, they genuinely are really sorry that this has happened. They often say, why didn't you tell me sooner? And it gives them more insight, and they can offer that emotional support. Now, again, what I found, most people aren't looking for expertise or knowledge or be told what to do. Although sometimes that little bit of validation of their own choices is useful. It's just a compassionate ear. That's all they're asking for, somebody to say, look, I'm struggling, and it would be helpful for you to know that I'm struggling. And it means then that people don't expect as much from them, or they just to have it in the back of their mind that this person is going through something. And it can be the simplest of gesture, like just rubbing someone's back, as a kind of, look, I get it, I know, how you doing? Grand, tough week, okay, I get it. That's enough. But I suppose the point of this video is that I understand if you're afraid to tell your friends about this stuff. And it does take risks to open up about this. You're not being disloyal to your family because you're not announcing this to the world. You're keeping this very tight. And again, you don't necessarily need to tell everybody everything. You don't have to go into massive detail. Sometimes just saying we've had these problems and they've gone on for a few years and I really don't see a solution to them, that might be enough for them to get, God, I'm really sorry to hear that. And they might offer some compassionate support. But it does take risks. Everything is risks. To grow as a human beings emotionally, we have to take risk. We have to risk being ourselves and risk opening up to our actual reality of what we're struggling with. And those risks may pay off, and it may bring you closer to your friends. They may actually be an incredible source of support. And again, this always comes down to support. And I'm a big advocate for people, estranged people, people who are struggling with their family, to have as much support as possible. I don't want it to be just from me. I don't want it to be just from someone on YouTube posting up videos. Actual real support from friends, from extended family, even from other estranged people who they might cross paths with in a support group. Brilliant. It's great. Whatever support they can get, they're entitled to it. They have every right to it, and they need it. You know, we all need support. The strongest person in the world needs support. That's just the way it is. It's the way we're built. So please, if you're afraid to tell your friends, I get it. I'm not telling you go out and tell your friends now, but think about, entertain the idea of telling your friends what you might tell them, who you might tell, how you might tell them, when you might tell them, and over time you might take a risk. Okay, and also bear in mind that another fear that people have is that as soon as they open up, the floodgates will just open up and they'll cry and cry and cry, and they can't control that. And I get that not everyone is comfortable with that level of vulnerability. I at different points I wouldn't have been in the past as well. Not so much now. I'd be okay with crying in front of somebody. Thankfully, it's not something that happens very often. I say thankfully, but I'm in a place where I don't cry. But if I did, it wouldn't be a problem, because I know my body needs to do that. It's a natural response to life and life circumstances, what I've been through. If when that happens, if that happens, you do find completely overwhelmed, you start to cry, lean into it. You'll be surprised. People can deal with it much better than you think. I remember many years ago after a breakup, I got very upset, and a friend of mine, he was incredible. I wouldn't have expected him to be as good as he was. I knew he'd be great, but he just got it, and he was totally cool, and he was very sensitive to the fact that I've just gone through a breakup. And you know, you'd be very surprised how well people respond to that. But again, I know it's a loss of control, and it's a letting go and really revealing someone's emotional reality. It is a very vulnerable time. But if it happens, it happens, and it may be the best thing that happens to you. But again, I'm just trying to acknowledge how hard it is to express emotions. It is very hard, particularly sadness, particularly tears, because people are conditioned to fear judgment and bad negative responses, and people kind of getting all uncomfortable and awkward. You'd be surprised how compassionate people are, much more than than we see on social media, which is not really a reflection of reality of how people are. People are much nicer in the real world than on social media. They're much nicer, much more understanding, and much kinder to each other. That's it, guys. Thanks a million. Catch up with you soon.